All right, let's take a look at our control panel for the LEC2 S-Series printers. Please note that the S-Series, both the LEC2 330 and the 640 line, utilize the same control panel. So on the control tower, this is the keypad. Now the keypad in itself has most of the functions for where printer starts. So on our top row, what we have here is where our printer gantry sits along the axis of the printer table, meaning this is the back. If I hold the back button, it'll go moving back. If I move it, press it, hold, it'll move it forward. If I just press once where it says X end, it's going to move to the back of the table unless I hit stop. And then if I wanted to move to the front of the table, just automatically, it'll move all the way to the front of the table to where I have an object set up at the table. Now, a couple things to note. If you notice on the sidebar side here, there is a little thing, looks like a calculator. This is where I could punch in a preset determined X position, or the position somewhere between the front and the back of the table. I currently have it at 500. I could set that at whatever that number is. This is in metric, so I'm just going to leave it at 500, and I'm going to show you what it does just by pressing the X real quick. Notice that the values are changing, and that is moving all the way to that position, 500 millimeters, from the 0 axis to the start point of where it wants to start. I can then click on X, I can then click on X return, and it's going to return back to the table, to the front of the table. Now, the second row happens to do with our Z axis, or Z movement of the table. So if I press and hold this arrow here, that will move it all the way to the very top. I can then hit stop. So that presses it, and it allows it to go automatically to the top. The restart button, a little circle, that actually, if you press and hold that, that resets the entire gantry, both to the very top of the area, to its highest printer area, and to the very front. So we call that resetting the home position. So the home position means it's at the safest area away, meaning at the very top of the Z, and to the very front of the printer area. So just by pressing this, I can press and it will automatically start moving up and to the front of the table, which I'm already now. And I can hit stop and actually stop that from occurring. Now, the auto Z function, which is this down, I actually hold that down, and as I'm holding it down, it's sensing, using our media detection sensor, it's sensing where the media is. So you'll notice on the Z axis where there's a little green button next to the Z, it's going to go red when it senses the material, somewhere around 73. It's going to be red, and I let go, and it's at 71.3. So I'm going to do that again. As I click, it's going to go red again, and then it's going to adjust back up to its spot. So what it's doing is it's sensing the object, a roll of tape that I happen to have on the bed, on the media, and that's how we sense the material to print. Now, up arrow automatically goes up, and I can release it. Down arrow goes down, and I release it. Notice that it won't allow me to go lower than the object that I have, which is the tape again that I have on the table. Now, on the next row, we have some features that happen to do with the actual table bed. The table bed, where I actually have a vacuum or I have a blower. So I can choose which one I want. So obviously I can suck or I can blow based on if I have a blower set up and I hit vacuum or pump 1, that'll push air or force air up. That helps me set heavy materials onto the bed. It kind of acts as a float, so I can float the material around. Easier to guide, less scratching, for heavy materials, things like that. A very, very nice feature. Typically, I have it on vacuum, so I'm sucking down. Now, on the F300, which is the printer that I'm showing here now, I have 2 vacuums. Whichever printer that you have loaded, it will only have 1 vacuum based on the plugs that are plugged into the back of the unit, the control tower. Now, The other thing that I have listed here is our ionizer button. I have an ionizer on the machine, and when I want to activate it, I can hit green, and that will go active for that particular thing. And that way it allows for an anti-static process. Now the buttons on the lower portion of the row, I have an alarm button, which tells me which alarms or plotter alarms that are occurring. So if I had a media detection, it may say sensing object. If I have an alarm that goes off, which I will talk about, by depressing it and it going green, I would be able to reset that alarm. So if I moved my obstruction away from it, the alarm was sounding, I can just press and hold that and it'll reset the alarm. Now, the next one over is our vacuum control. Again, my little calculator pops up. That allows me to punch in, let's say, 100. So that gives me 100% of my vacuum for both vacuums. It doesn't give me independent. So I just have one for vacuum number 1 and 2. I typically use it at 50% vacuum, and then adjust otherwise. So they're very nice vacuums that they have here. One really, really cool feature is a light that's on the gantry, and the light is inside the printer gantry, and it illuminates the printer gantry. And then I've got 2 features that are for our service, which we will go into on a service call related, both of which show the status or types of service system information that's available for a service technician to come in. There is absolutely nothing special, no fast modes or anything. It is simply for calibrations for motors and such. And to go into the setup mode, you would need the service password. That is it for our functionalities. Again, we'll take a look. X-axis, or that's our gantry going forwards and backwards. Z-axis going up or down. Vacuum table, vacuum blower 1 and 2, and then my alarm functionalities, turning things on and off for the functions. And then lastly, the review is being able to set the value for either the X position, or our front to back, or our Z position, a set value for our Z position. The left arrow that you see here will get us back into the main operations of the window, the control panel. If I wanted to change my language settings, I could do so here. I happen to be doing English, so I'm just going to stick with the English language and move on from there.